There is a truth so powerful, so exacting in its simplicity, that it shatters every illusion of effort and lays bare the laws that govern all success. It is this: 20% of what you do creates 80% of what you become. 80% of your income, 80% of your peace, 80% of your power, 80% of your legacy. And yet most men pour 90% of their time, energy, thought, and emotion into the wrong things: distraction, approval, reaction, resentment, fear. They live their entire lives exhausted but not excellent, busy but not effective, emotional but not intelligent. They fight battles that do not matter. They chase applause that does not last. They break themselves over opinions that do not build. Why? Because they have never learned to command the 20%. They have never mastered emotional detachment. They have never disciplined their mental machinery. They have never taken ruthless ownership of their inner world. Let us be clear. Your future is not controlled by how hard you work, it is controlled by what you work on. And more than that, it is controlled by who is doing the work, the reactive self or the sovereign self. This is not a motivational slogan. This is a law, one you violate at your peril. And I offer it to you today, not as theory, but as transformation. For if you absorb what follows not merely with the mind, but with the soul, you will begin to live a life so clear, so focused, so effective, that others will call it unfair. But it is not unfair, it is earned. This is a lecture for those prepared to become dangerous in the right direction. This is for the man who is tired of reaction, of disarray, of dying slowly in a life of noise. This is for the woman who is done negotiating with her fear, who no longer asks for permission to be powerful, who is willing to become mentally untouchable even if it means losing the comfort of emotional conformity. This is for you if you are ready to build a life that no longer bends to chaos, but shapes order from within. So let us begin. The 80% problem, emotional chaos, mental noise, and the lie of equal effort? Most people are exhausted because they have bought into a lie. The lie that all work is equal, that all emotion is valid, that all time is productive, that trying hard is enough. It is not. Effort is not the metric. Effective, emotionally disciplined, strategically focused effort is. And the tragedy is this: most of what people do is useless, not because they are lazy, but because they are emotionally chaotic. They check their phones 70 times a day, not because they need to, but because they are emotionally addicted to distraction. They argue with people who will never grow, not because truth is at stake, but because they are emotionally attached to being right. They delay their dreams not because they lack opportunity, but because they are emotionally afraid of rejection. They say yes when they mean no. They react when they should reflect. They spiral when they should still. This is the 80% of life that must be burned to the ground. Because your future, the real one, the dominant one, the one you were born for, does not live in that 80%. It lives in the 20% of effort that is aligned, concentrated, emotionless in its execution, and permanent in its effects. And that 20% begins with one habit: mastering your inner world. Emotional detachment is the gateway to the 20%. If you want to access the 20% of life that truly matters, you must kill your need to feel comfortable before you move. You must sever the bond between your emotions and your identity. You must learn once, and for all that emotion is a signal, not a sovereign. It is a suggestion, not a strategy. It is a passenger, not the pilot. You do not rise in wealth, power, influence, or peace until you can look fear in the face and say, "I see you, but I do not obey you." You do not transcend the average until you can hear criticism and remain emotionally neutral because you are too focused on creating to be caught in reacting. You do not command anything externally until you can detach internally. Let me make this precise. If you allow emotions to govern your actions, you forfeit your power. But if you command your thoughts, you command your future. This is not coldness, this is clarity. This is not apathy, this is alignment. You do not become emotionless. You become emotionally disciplined. You still feel, but you decide what those feelings mean. You still hear noise, but you do not join the chaos. You become the calm center of a storm the world does not know how to escape. That is the 20%, and very few will ever know it. Mental discipline, the architecture of the 20%. Now we speak of structure, not external structure, internal. Discipline is not a routine. It is a relationship with yourself. It is proof that you are no longer governed by what feels good, but by what works. The average man wakes up and checks his phone. The extraordinary man wakes up and checks his thoughts. The average woman seeks affirmation. The extraordinary woman repeats her affirmations with precision and power. The average person avoids discomfort. The disciplined person walks into it on purpose because they know that resistance is not the enemy, it is the door. Mental discipline is the refusal to break your own word. It is the daily, repeated act of choosing clarity over comfort, creation over consumption, sovereignty over stimulus. It is waking up, sitting in silence, and commanding the battlefield of your mind before the world tries to storm it. It is writing your thoughts before they become feelings, and directing your feelings before they become behavior. It is becoming the master of the first hour of your day because you know that if you win the morning, the rest of the world has no power over you. Let me say this with finality. Discipline is the invisible 20% that determines 80% of your outcomes. And every time you keep your own promise, your internal empire expands. The law of mental neutrality. There is a law you must internalize if you ever want to become a sovereign being. Emotionally charged thoughts are inaccurate thoughts. When your mind is hot, your decisions are cold. When your pride is high, your precision is low. When your reactions are fast, your results are weak. The masters of success, those who build empires of wealth, influence, peace, and impact, are not faster thinkers, they are calmer ones. They do not jump to conclusions, they arrive at them through observation. They do not speak to be heard, they speak to be felt, and only when necessary. They have mastered mental neutrality, the ability to observe without flinching, to evaluate without exaggerating, to respond without ego. This does not mean they are passive, it means they are precise. They do not waste their 20% reacting to gossip, offense, drama, or delusion. They reserve their power for creation, correction, direction. This is your goal. To become so calm that noise dies before it touches you. To become so detached that emotion becomes a tool knot, a tyrant. To become so intentional that each thought you allow is one that builds. Because neutrality is not silence, it is strength. Autosuggestion. Programming the 20% that shapes everything. Every thought you repeat is a seed. Every word you speak is a command. Every belief you rehearse is a prophecy. And if you are not programming your subconscious, it is still being programmed by fear, by failure, by past trauma, by social noise, by unexamined pain. You must interrupt the cycle. You must speak truth into yourself, not once, but daily. Not when you feel like it, but especially when you don't. You must declare your identity before the world tells you who you are. This is autosuggestion, the daily ritual of crafting the 20% of thoughts that form the 80% of who you become. Say it aloud. I am calm, I am clear, I am focused, I am the cause of my results. I do not react, I respond, I do not wait, I decide, I do not beg, I create. Write it, speak it, feel it, repeat it. Because repetition is not boring. Repetition is power. The world wants you entertained, but destiny demands you programmed. Accurate thinking, the filter of power. Now let us speak of a principle that separates the masses from the masters. Accurate thinking. The average person believes everything they feel. The disciplined mind inspects every thought before it is allowed to land. Most people live in mental clutter. Their thinking is vague, reactive, fuzzy, polluted by emotion, distorted by fear. They do not think accurately. They assume, they guess, they remember. They replay. But they do not analyze. That is why their lives remain confused, despite their effort. Understand this law. Effort is only as powerful as the clarity behind it. You can swing your axe wildly all day, but if the blade is dull, you do more damage to yourself than the tree. Accurate thinking sharpens the blade. It asks, is this thought many are inherited? Is this conclusion verified or emotionally convenient? Is this problem real or magnified by reaction? Is this obstacle permanent or am I just afraid of change? The moment you begin to question your thoughts not from fear, but from strength, you begin to command the 20% of decisions that form 80% of your outcomes. Let me make this more severe. You are not what you think. You are what you believe, without questioning. And that is the most dangerous territory of all. So do not merely think, test. Do not merely feel, filter. Do not merely repeat, refine. Because once you think with precision, you begin to build with permanence. And once your beliefs are examined, your limits are exposed. And once your limits are exposed, your potential begins. Personal initiative, the seed of self-driven success. You have learned the laws of detachment, discipline, neutrality, autosuggestion, and accurate thought. But none of them matter without one supreme force. Personal initiative, the discipline to begin. Without applause, without direction, without certainty, without external permission. Most people are waiting. They are waiting for signs, for proof, for motivation, for encouragement. But the man who controls the 20% that shapes 80% of life knows this: power belongs to those who initiate. No one was born ready. No one was born confident. No one was born rich in thought. They began. And beginning became the catalyst of belief. Action became the source of identity. There is no savior coming. There is no guide arriving. There is no moment of fate that will find you. You are the source. You are the moment. You are the spark. Personal initiative means you do not need to be told what to do. You do not wait for conditions. You create conditions. You do not follow the map. You draw it. You do not apply for permission. You become the authority. Let me give you a law worth etching into the chambers of your character. He who initiates leads. He who waits obeys. And wealth does not follow obedience. It follows originality. Begin now. Not when you're ready, not when it's easy, not when the timing is ideal. Now precisely because it is not. Because in hardship, your power is tested. Because in uncertainty, your vision is revealed. Because in starting before you are ready, the real you begins to surface. The misunderstood power of consistency over intensity. Let us now address the myth of the modern achiever. That breakthroughs come from bursts of motivation, from massive effort, from big leaps. This is a lie. Let me reveal what few understand. The man who masters his life does not rely on intensity. He relies on consistency. Intensity is emotional. Consistency is structural. Intensity is unpredictable. Consistency is programmed. Intensity exhausts. Consistency compounds. Let me say this clearly. A little done daily is more powerful than a lot done occasionally. One page of clarity each day is more powerful than a weekend of confusion. One decision repeated every morning is stronger than 10 made in emotional desperation. The average person lives in spikes, motivated on Monday, exhausted by Friday, numb by Sunday. They repeat the cycle and call it ambition. But the builder, the calm, the clear, the master moves in rhythm. He does not burn out because his effort is not emotional. It is mechanical. It is structural. It is carved into his routine like law. He has removed the need for feeling and replaced it with fidelity to the plan. This is the 20% small, focused, emotionally detached action repeated with near religious consistency while the world chases new ideas and burns out from trying to leap over their own undisciplined mind. Discipline beats brilliance. Structure beats inspiration. Repetition beats motivation. That is the law. Silence, the secret weapon of inner command. The most powerful minds on earth do not speak often, not because they lack intelligence, but because they are filtering noise. Silence is not weakness. Silence is precision. Most people are afraid of silence because they are afraid of their own thoughts. But the disciplined mind knows this. You do not find truth in chaos, you find it in quiet. Begin your mornings with silence. No input, no screens, just thought, just breath, just observation. Let the storm settle. Let the emotion clear. Let the signal rise from the static. In silence, you hear your standards. In silence, you meet your future. In silence, you confront the man you're avoiding, the one who knows what you're capable of but sees you clinging to old excuses. Silence is not absence, it is access. It is in silence that your 20% becomes visible, that you see which habits, decisions, and thoughts truly matter. Do not run from it, run to it. Because in silence, your mind becomes a weapon. The sovereign self. Final habits of the 20% part live. You were not born to be ruled by emotions, by circumstance, by impulse, by history. You were born to rule. And the final stage of this transformation is the construction of the sovereign self, the version of you that reacts to nothing but truth, moves only with clarity, thinks only with precision, chooses only with alignment, speaks only with purpose, acts only with finality. This version of you does not chase success. He builds the identity that commands it. He does not worry about the world. He watches the inner empire, and everything else aligns around that. He is calm in criticism, still in pressure, decisive in doubt. He is not perfect, but he is powerful because he knows that the 20% he has mastered is enough to shift everything. This is what you are becoming if you stay the course. This is who you already are if you stop betraying it. There is a threshold, and you are standing at it. Behind you is a life of reaction, of scattered motion, of addiction to chaos masquerading as effort. A life of blaming, explaining, defending, performing, hoping that someday, somehow, things will get better if you just hold on long enough. But that life is dead. What lies before you is the quiet kingdom of command, not loud, not desperate, not theatrical, but precise, grounded, and governed by an internal code that never flinches even when the world does. It is built on the 20%, the sacred few thoughts, the few disciplines, the few decisions, the few hours, the few values. Not everything matters. Most of what consumes the average man is irrelevant. Most of what delays your power is imaginary. Most of what you chase can be ignored. The key to unstoppable success is not more effort. It is the right effort, aimed, repeated, sharpened, until it becomes part of you. The difference between the sovereign and the servant is this. The servant does everything. The sovereign does only what matters. That's the paradox. Success is not built by working harder. It's built by working on the few things that truly matter with such intensity, such detachment, and such discipline that the world cannot ignore the results. And now the truth, in its rawest form. If you do not command your mind, someone else will. If you do not direct your emotions, your past will. If you do not sculpt your identity, society will hand you a mask and tell you to wear it until you forget who you were. But if you will claim your mornings, if you will guard your thoughts like a king guards the gates of a fortress, if you will refuse to speak until your words are sharp enough to matter, if you will execute the small things daily with the faith of a builder laying the first brick of an eternal temple, then life will obey you. Because life is not unfair. Life is precise. It obeys law, and law favors the man who obeys his own highest standard. So I say this to you with fire and finality. Begin now. Not tomorrow. Now. Reclaim your morning. Build the first thought. Sit in silence. Speak your affirmations. Define your identity. Set your strategy. Reject the noise. Cancel the confusion. Execute one move. Then repeat. And when it feels small, rejoice. Because that is the sign that you're touching the 20%, the compound, the gold mine, the hidden machinery that builds 80% of your life while the world is chasing trends and drowning in trivia. Be the one who executes. While others talk, you move. While others react, you observe. While others doubt, you deliver. While others scroll, you sculpt. You are not waiting to become powerful. You are no longer convincing yourself. You are done rehearsing the past. You are now the architect of your habits, the commander of your emotions, the gatekeeper of your focus, the author of your identity. And that is all the universe ever needed to reward you, not with a crown, not with applause, but with clarity, peace, and a future that bows to the discipline of your present. So let the world chase complexity. You have found the secret. Just 20% of effort creates 80% of your life. Guard it. Repeat it. Build with it. And when the world asks how you did it, simply smile and return to the silence. Because kings do not explain, they execute. And now, as you stand at the edge of the old self, I say this without hesitation and without apology. Burn the bridge. Burn the bridge back to your excuses. Burn the bridge back to comfort. Burn the bridge back to waiting, to worrying, to wondering if you're worthy enough to begin. You are not meant to maintain. You are not meant to conform. You are not meant to survive this world. You are meant to command it. This is not about motivation. This is about domination. Not over others, but over the weakest parts of yourself. The part that makes promises but never keeps them. The part that plans but never moves. The part that reacts, explains, spirals, hides. That part dies today. Right here, in this decision, in this sacred silence you are sitting in, where the lesser self has no voice and the greater self finally rises. Do not just rise, erupt. Shatter the ceiling of your identity. Snap the leash of emotional bondage. Tear down the architecture of fear that others built inside your mind. You are not the man others remember. You are not the woman they expected you to be. You are the storm they never saw coming because while they were laughing, you were training. While they were resting, you were sharpening. While they were reacting, you were rewiring your inner world with steel and sovereignty. So stop asking the world for proof. Stop asking yourself for permission. Stop wondering if you're doing too much. You are doing too little if the world is still comfortable around your mediocrity. From this moment forward, your life is split in two. Before this speech and after it. Before this truth and after it. Before you met the 20% of your power that mattered, and after you claimed it with fire, faith, and finality. You will not go back. You will not apologize for discipline. You will not flinch when others flinch. You will not lower your tone to fit a conversation your future has already outgrown. You will execute daily, without drama, without announcement, without waiting to feel like it, without asking if it's working. You will become the result. You will rise so quietly and so consistently that even the people who doubted you will begin to change how they speak in your presence, because real power doesn't shout. It shifts reality. That is your new identity. Not someday, not soon, now. Because once you command the 20% of effort that shapes your destiny, you no longer chase life. Life chases you. And when that happens, when results begin to echo, when discipline becomes identity, when the throne of your mind is no longer vacant, you will finally realize you were never powerless. You were never broken. You were never lost. You were simply distracted from the truth. And now that you have remembered it, there is no going back. So step forward, Sovereign One. Step into the fire of effort that does not burn but builds. Step into the silence where kings are born. Step into the morning, into the repetition, into the law, into the 20% that bends reality to the will of the unshakable. This world is yours not because you inherited it, but because you took full command of the only territory that matters. Your inner world. Now move quietly, decisively, and permanently. You are the cause now. You are the law now. You are the 20%. And the world will never recover from what you're about to become. There comes a time in every man's life when he must stop negotiating with weakness and begin commanding greatness. That time is now. The vast majority of people wake each morning in reaction. They respond to alarms, opinions, environments, emotions, and they call this living. But in truth, they are not living. They are being lived by forces they do not control, thoughts they did not create, emotions they do not understand. Let it be known here and now, no man can ever master the outer world until he masters the inner one. No enterprise will rise beyond the level of the mind that built it. No relationship will thrive beyond the clarity of the thoughts that govern it, and no destiny will manifest that is not first conceived, commanded, and pursued with absolute precision and daily discipline. There are 5 reasons, 5 eternal forces that demand your self improvement, not once, not occasionally, but every day. These reasons are not trends, they are truths, and they do not ask politely for your attention, they demand it. Reason 1, because stagnation is decay. The law of the universe is movement. Stars expand, rivers flow, life evolves, and the mind of man, if it ceases to grow, begins to rot. Stagnation is not neutral. It is regression in disguise. You may believe you're maintaining your position, but the world moves on. And those who do not evolve are left behind, not by competition, but by cause and effect. Self-improvement is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation. If you do not sharpen the blade of your mind daily, you will become blunt, not by force, but by neglect. And the blunt man is not beaten by others, she is beaten by his own dullness. To improve yourself every day is to rise above entropy, to climb while others drift, to evolve while others dissolve. Every book you study, every emotion you master, every weakness you confront is a step out of decay and into dominion. Let the lazy perish in comfort. You were not made for comfort, you were made for command, and command demands daily improvement. Reason 2, because discipline builds identity. The poor ask, what must I do to succeed? The rich ask, who must I become to succeed? Therein lies the secret. Success is not a goal, it is an identity. And identity is not chosen, it is earned through repetition, through consistency, through the daily act of aligning your actions with your highest vision. Every time you act with discipline, you reinforce an identity of strength. Every time you show up when you would rather sleep, you carve into your mind the blueprint of a builder. Every time you speak truth when it would be easier to remain silent, you mold yourself into a leader. Discipline is not punishment, it is permission to become powerful, and the price of that power is paid daily in silence, in solitude, in structure. If you abandon your disciplines, you abandon your identity, and a man without identity is a man who will be shaped by the world, not a man who shapes it. You must improve yourself daily, because your identity is always under construction. Every thought you tolerate, every excuse you accept, every fear you bow to, these are the bricks of who you become. Choose wisely. Reason 3, because emotion is a liar. The masses are ruled by feeling. They act when excited, they quit when tired, they speak when angry, they indulge when sad. They are, in every sense, puppets controlled not by principle but by emotional weather. But hear this well. Emotion is not truth. Emotion is movement. It is energy, yes, but it is not guidance. If you allow emotion to govern your actions, you forfeit your ability to govern your life. To detach from emotion is not to become robotic. It is to become strategic. It is to observe your feelings without obeying them. It is to say, I see you, but I do not serve you. I act from vision, not from mood. Each day you improve yourself, you grow stronger in the face of emotional chaos. You learn to breathe instead of break. You learn to respond instead of react. And you become the rarest of all men, a calm commander in a world of emotional slaves. Your emotional state must not determine your outcome. Your decisions must. And the more you improve yourself, the more your decisions reflect truth, not turbulence. Reason 4, because purpose demands precision. The man without purpose wakes each morning with no compass. He wanders, distracted, chasing noise, validation, comfort. He is busy but ineffective, active but aimless. But the man of purpose is a machine of precision. He moves with clarity. He thinks before he speaks. He acts before he explains. And he improves himself not for applause, not for likes, but because his mission demands it. Daily improvement is not a luxury, it is a requirement of vision. If your purpose is great, your habits must match. If your goals are towering, your thoughts must be disciplined. You cannot achieve with a lazy mind what was meant to be built with a powerful one. Purpose without preparation is delusion, and daily improvement is the preparation that proves you are serious. Reason 5, because time is not on your side. The greatest lie told to man is that there will always be more time. But the calendar is a graveyard. It buries the potential of those who wait. Every day you waste is not neutral, it is costly. And that cost is not measured in hours, but in opportunity. If you do not improve today, you arrive at tomorrow weaker, slower, less precise, less aligned, and success will pass you not because you were not worthy, but because you were not ready. You must see every day as a battlefield. You rise, you train, you fight for focus, you build the mind that builds the future. Because if you do not, someone else will, and they will own the life you were meant to live. Time does not wait, but it does reward those who respect it, and there is no greater respect for time than to use it to improve the self. The moment you realize your success is not determined by the economy, your childhood, your resources, or even your education, but by the command you exercise over yourself is the moment you enter the upper class of life. Not the financial class, the functional class. The class of builders, of masters, of creators, the men and women who move the world because they have first mastered their inner world. And that mastery begins with daily improvement, not occasional inspiration, not once in a while effort, but daily, deliberate, directed improvement. If you do not become stronger today than you were yesterday, then the world has moved forward and you have stood still. And to stand still in a world that moves is to fall behind. You must now train yourself to see time differently. To the ordinary man, a day is something to be survived. To the extraordinary man, a day is a canvas, a weapon, a tool of transformation. Every day is a stage, and you are either performing your highest values or betraying them. You are either in motion or you are in denial. You are either improving or deteriorating. There is no neutral. You must now discipline yourself to live with urgency and stillness at the same time, urgency in action, stillness in mind. That is the paradox of greatness. The rich in mind move with deliberate speed. They are not frantic. They are focused. They are not loud. They are lethal in silence. This brings us to one of the most overlooked principles of the rich, the practice of mental silence. You see, the mind is a garden, and most men allow anything to be planted in it: news, gossip, fear, comparison, the noise of opinion, the chatter of the crowd. But the rich know only a trained mind can create a trained life. You must make space each day to disconnect from distraction and listen to the truth within. Sit with yourself not as a victim, but as a visionary. Ask, what weakness did I tolerate today? Where did I react instead of respond? Where did I move with discipline and where did I move with emotion? What thought governed my actions and did it serve my mission? The man who does not ask these questions is a man who will drift even if he appears successful, because drift is not visible at first, it is invisible erosion. And it begins when you stop checking the quality of your own thinking. Mental silence is the practice of returning to yourself, of separating your thoughts from your emotions, of distinguishing truth from noise, of refining your decision-making until every action becomes a scalpel, not a hammer. That is how the rich move, with scalpel-like precision. They don't do more, they do less, better, and that level of clarity requires daily mental sharpening. Now, let us speak of another sacred truth, the law of internal causality. Everything that happens in your life is the effect of something you allowed, believed, thought, tolerated, or repeated. Nothing is random. Chaos is not a cause, it is a consequence. If you are inconsistent, it is because your mind has not been ordered. If you are overwhelmed, it is because your priorities have not been clarified. If you are reactive, it is because you have not yet trained your emotions to submit to vision. The rich know this. Whatever exists outside first existed inside. They do not blame the world, they build the self. They do not demand fairness, they demand clarity. And that clarity comes through daily discipline. Because every action you take is a vote not just for results, but for who you are becoming. And if you do not know who you are becoming, you will become what the world shapes you to be. You must become your own sculptor. And the chisel is self-improvement. Every book, every workout, every hour of solitude, every tough decision, every act of self-restraint, every plan reviewed, every habit tracked, every emotion managed. These are the strokes that carve the masterpiece of your future. And you must now become obsessed with that future, not in fantasy, but in formation. Because the future is not found, it is forged. It is built by those who show up every day, whether they are motivated or not. And that is the dividing line between the elite and the ordinary. The elite show up regardless. The ordinary show up when they feel like it. Now listen to this eternal law. If you wait to feel right, you will never become great. But if you act with discipline, you will feel right after you have already become great. That is the reversal of cause and effect the masses never understand. They seek to feel their way into action, but the masters act their way into identity. And the highest form of identity is not ego, it is alignment. Alignment between thought and word, between word and action, between belief and behavior, between the inner world and the outer life. And that alignment is what gives a man peace. Peace is not the absence of challenge. Peace is the presence of order. And order is the result of repetition, of improvement, of deliberate mastery. Every day you improve yourself, you add order to your life. And every time you add order, you add peace. So yes, self-improvement is the path to success. But more than that, it is the path to freedom, to peace, to personal power that no one can take from you. And if that is not reason enough to rise tomorrow, sharpen your mind, train your habits, and improve yourself without excuse, then what else could be? You were not born to live scattered. You were not born to live reactive. You were not born to be emotionally manipulated by the world. You were born to lead, to rise, to master, to command your own becoming. The time for theory is over. The time for excuses is buried. The time for casual improvement has expired. This is now your life. And your life will either be a living expression of your highest values or a graveyard of your abandoned intentions. Every day you rise without improving yourself is a vote for decline. And every day you discipline your thinking, your actions, your emotions, you cast a ballot for mastery. This is the truest form of freedom. To wake up, look into the mirror of your own mind, and know that you are in control. Not of the weather, not of the headlines, but of yourself. And when you control yourself, you become unmovable in a world that shakes at every opinion. So here is the final word etched, not in ink, but in iron. If you do not control your thoughts will control your time. If you do not command your emotions will command your future. If you do not take initiative over your day will steal your potential. But if you rise each morning with intention, if you train your mind like a warrior trains his blade, if you build your soul like an empire builds its walls, if you commit to improvement not as a habit but as a law, then nothing can stop you. Not failure, not fatigue, not fear, not rejection, not even time itself. Because the man who improves himself every day is not aging, he is ascending. He is not waiting, he is forging. He is not reacting, he is ruling. And now you must decide, not casually, but permanently. What man will you be? Will you be the man who starts strong and fades? The man who blames the world for what he failed to master within? The man who sleeps through the dawn of his own greatness? Or will you be the man who commands his future by commanding his focus? The man who sharpens his soul like a blade? The man who becomes undeniable? The man who meets destiny not with hope, but with habit? The man who improves himself every single day, not for show, not for applause, but because the mission is sacred? You know the answer. You feel it in your bones. The average life sickens you. The shallow distractions disgust you. The emotional slavery of the world offends your deepest genius. And that is why you must rise, train, read, build, improve. Not tomorrow, today. And when you wake tomorrow, you do it again. And when they ask you how you did it, how you stayed focused, how you built strength in silence, how you created wealth without noise, how you moved with clarity when they were confused, you will say only this: I improved myself every single day. When I was tired, I improved. When I was doubted, I improved. When I was alone, I improved. When I was unseen, I improved. When I was tempted, I improved. When I was scared, I improved. When I was ready to quit, I improved anyway. And eventually, the world could no longer ignore the man I had become. You are not far. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are untrained. But that ends today. From this day forward, you train. You train your thoughts. You train your discipline. You train your tongue. You train your calendar. You train your emotions. You train your silence. You train your response. And you wake every morning with the mind of a champion and the habits of a king. Because the throne is not earned once, it is earned every day. And the crown belongs to the man who improves himself until even time kneels at his feet. Now go, not with hesitation, not with noise, but with certainty. And when the world sees you coming calm, clear, disciplined, dangerous, they will not understand. But they will move aside, because no man can stop the one who masters himself. You were not born to live in fear of your own greatness. You were not sent here to follow the herd, to beg for scraps, to sleepwalk through your destiny while your soul rots in unfulfilled potential. No, you were born to lead yourself, to master your urges, to become so structured, so focused, so relentless that your very existence becomes a mirror in which weaker men see everything they refuse to become. You were born to rise above emotion, to discipline your thinking, to chisel away weakness, and to stand before the world, not with noise, but with undeniable presence. And that presence is only forged in the fire of daily improvement. You see, the masses believe that greatness is given to the lucky, but you know it is earned by the consistent. It is not a matter of talent, but of temperament. It is not about background. It is about who wakes up and gets to work without being told. It is about who disciplines his soul like a soldier sharpens his sword. There is a rare kind of man who does not beg the world to see him. He becomes someone the world cannot ignore. That man trains when others sleep. That man thinks when others react. That man reads when others gossip. That man builds when others scroll. That man moves in silence, sharpens in solitude, and executes with precision while the rest wait for the right time. And while they wait, you win. Because you have decided, at last, that you will not delay your destiny. You will not let another morning pass with the mind untrained, the body undisciplined, the calendar unmanaged, the emotions unexamined. You will no longer live below the level of your potential. You have declared war on every lie you once believed about yourself. The lie that said, you're not ready. The lie that said, you're too late. The lie that said, you need more support. The lie that said, you should wait for motivation. The lie that said, success is for someone else. The lie that said, you're not the kind of person who finishes. You have crushed those lies under the boot of your decision to improve yourself every single day without excuse, without apology, without fail, because you finally understand the truth. That self-improvement is not optional for the man who takes himself seriously. It is oxygen. It is armor. It is the only proof that your life is being driven, not by fear or feeling, but by intention. You do not rise today for comfort. You rise to become a force. A man of vision, a man of structure, a man of inner command. A man who needs no spotlight because he radiates results. You build in silence. You suffer in silence. You sacrifice in silence. And then one day the world cannot ignore you. Because silence is temporary, but mastery is permanent. So when they ask where it came from, this strength, this calmness, this clarity, this discipline, this power, you won't speak. You'll just show them your patterns. You'll show them your rituals. You'll show them your solitude. You'll show them your scars, You'll show them the thousands of quiet hours you poured into the self they see now. And when they still don't understand, you will say, I earned this. With every act of discipline, with every thought I refused to obey, with every morning I rose while the weak slept, with every temptation I conquered, with every emotion I did not serve, with every decision I made when no one was watching, with every version of myself I buried along the way. I improved myself every day until the world was forced to acknowledge what I had become. And what have you become? Untouchable. Not because you are perfect, but because you are possessed by vision. You do not react. You respond. You do not flinch. You face. You do not crumble. You calculate. You do not chase praise. You pursue precision. You do not seek escape. You forge escape routes for others. You do not panic. You plan. You do not beg for success. You become success. And this is the secret the rich, the powerful, the disciplined all know. That improvement is not something you try to do. It is who you are. It is in your breath, your posture, your focus, your preparation, your repetition, your calmness under fire. It is in every quiet choice you make when no one is watching. Because that is when you build the life no one can take from you. And now you are that man. You do not need to become him. You are him because you have chosen in this final moment to never again betray your future for temporary emotion. So tomorrow you will rise again. You will rise when tired. You will rise when afraid. You will rise when the world doubts you. You will rise with no applause. You will rise with no audience. Because the mission doesn't require attention. It requires completion. You rise because you gave your word to yourself. And a man who keeps his word to himself is unbreakable. So go. Build with fury. Think with clarity. Lead with silence. Move with sharpness. Train like your future depends on it because it does. And when they ask how you got here, you will look them in the eyes and say, without emotion, I improved myself every damn day, until there was nothing left in me that resembled the man I used to be. And that, my friend, is how you take the crown. Not with noise, but with nonstop improvement. Until you become the man the world must kneel before, not in worship, but in respect. Because they know you earned it. And you never stopped. Not once. Not ever.